Donnie Darko. If you haven't seen it, where the fuck have you been, dude? You're living under a rock? I don't understand. This 2001 movie is like a Tumblr girl's dream. I remember when I was growing up, girls were fucking loving Donnie Darko. It was directed by Richard Kelly, who is some rando who's literally made pretty much nothing else. This was his first movie, his directorial debut, feature length, and he wrote it as well. And this movie is fucking awesome, but then everything else he made was kind of like blah. The cast of this thing is fucking insane. It's got Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal playing siblings, which is nutty. Mary McDonnell as the mother, Drew Barrymore as the teacher, Patrick Swayze as the fucking religious guy. Seth Rogen is some random side character that's like a bully. It's like, how many people can they fit in this thing? Whether you've seen this or not, you need to watch this video because this movie is insane. I'm fucking hot as shit. Watch this intro while I go change my shirt.
And as for the whole gangbang scenario, it just couldn't happen. Smurfs are asexual. They don't even have reproductive organs.
So the movie starts and we're introduced to Donnie and his whole family. Donnie is clearly sort of the troubled one. The little sister's like cute and nice, and Maggie is the older sister, and she's obviously the one that's more successful, but they kind of have a tough relationship. So they find out that Donnie's not taking his pills because his sister tells on him, but then he's got to go take his pills, right? So then he pops one pill, goes to bed. This night, he's awoken by some creepy voice by the name of Frank, who is the creepy bunny guy that talks to Donnie throughout the movie, which you can't tell if is like a figment of his imagination or what, but basically tells him that at the end of October, in 28 days, the world's going to end. That night, while he's gone, his family is all home, resting or coming home like his sister, and then suddenly, a fucking whole jet engine just slams into Donnie's room, and everyone's like, what the fuck? So he wakes up, he's on the golf course, and for a moment there's his doctor who finds him and kind of shoos him off. And next to him, who gets covered by sunlight, is another man who we later learn is a religious leader in the group that just moved in. Donnie's coming home on his bike, right? He pulls up, fucking sees his family. They're just outside worried, and they go, oh my God, Donnie, you're okay, thank God. And they come, they hug him, and then he goes, what happens? And they go, a jet engine just slammed into your room overnight, like, thank God you were out. So their family has to start sleeping in a hotel for a little while everything gets cleaned up. But the FAA, like the people that are in charge of flight, shit, are really trying to sweep this under the rug, try to keep the family good, so they're like paying for everything. Donnie figures out that they admit that they're like, we don't even know where this engine came from. Like, there's no plane that we can even recognize that this would have come from, so... Next thing you know, fucking Tears for Fears is playing. Everybody's introduced, sort of a slow-mo montage of everybody. Donnie Darko, we see Drew Barrymore as a teacher, he's in class. They're learning about this story from a short story collection called The Destructors. And then we also meet Donnie's love interest, Gretchen Ross, which... sounds like a made-up name, and we find out is a made-up name. While they're driving home after school, Donnie and his dad accidentally almost hit this old lady. What the fuck? Where's this lady at? And she's just like, we find out that is Grandma Death, is what everyone in the town calls her, otherwise known as Roberta Sparrow. Then we learn that Donnie has a therapist, and him and the therapist are going back and forth. He tells her about Frank and what Frank said, how the world's going to end soon. And she's like, do you think that's true? And he's like, no, that's fucking dumb. The next day, we see Kitty, his gym teacher, teaching them attitude lessons is what she's calling them. And it's just literally these terrible infomercial-style videos by Jim Cunningham, which is the new religious leader in the area. They're silly. They're just like fucking the most 90s thing you've ever seen in your life. It's like 4 quadrants. I'll show you guys.
Love.
I was feeding fear with food.
Boom! Suddenly it cuts, right? Sorry. Suddenly it cuts, and it's Donnie having some vision. Frank's involved. I don't know what's going on, but he's, it looks like the school with like in space with water throughout it. Then it's Donnie all sleepwalky, blah, blah, blah. And then he is fucking swinging an axe. Next day, they're waiting for the school bus. School bus ain't here. It's like 45 minutes late. So everybody's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Sharita Chen's like, shut up. I don't know, like, some weird racial thing going on.
Shut up.
But otherwise, another student comes over, tells them, hey, I don't know if you guys heard, but school's shut down. We're not having any school today because there was a big water leak. Everything's fucking popping off. I don't know what happened. And then it cuts and it shows that apparently at school, there was a water main break and the school's flooded. And you can see outside in the dog mascot that there's a giant axe in its head, which literally makes no sense. They even talk about it. Donnie's strong, baby. Donnie's walking home, because the school's off, and he sees the two bully guys, including Seth Rogen, fucking slamming on his girl, talking about how her boobs are nice and stuff.
I like your boobs.
And he's like, chill, bro. That's my beach. Come on. And then him and her walk home. She just gives everything up. She's supposed to be there under, new names, her and her mom, because her old stepdad used to be fucking really abusive and like threatened them. And so she's just like, fuck it. I'm going to tell Donnie everything that was supposed to be a secret. At one point, Donnie's even like, oh, he has emotional problems. Me too, dude. That's sick. What kind? Like, tell me. But ultimately, they're flirting. You know what I'm saying? So he goes, I'm glad school got out today, because otherwise I wouldn't have met you. The next day, the cops are at school trying to fucking figure out who did this. So, because there was some writing on the floor. So they're like, everybody go up in front of the class and try to write on the board, write this exact phrase. Donnie writes it and they're like, maybe, question mark. And then later Donnie's in the bathroom and the bully's like, what the fuck, man? Did you tell him that I did this? And he's like, no, man, I don't know what you're talking about. The bully takes out a fucking switchblade and puts it to his neck. I don't know what school these guys are going to, but nobody in my school was pulling out switchblades and threatening each other. Next, there's a whole scene where Donnie and his two friends are talking about Smurfs and Smurfette and like how Smurfette was made to be fucked by Papa Smurf and the rest of the Smurfs. I don't know, it's crazy. But the scene following that is really why they're there, is because this time Kitty, the gym teacher that's showing them all the videos, almost hits the old lady grandma death again, and then they kind of make fun of her, but it's reiterating the fact that this woman is kind of doing something weird and she's going to the mailbox over and over again looking for something in the mailbox. Next thing we know, there's a PTA meeting, all the parents are there because this whole vandalism thing that caused a crazy flood, and Kitty's like got an ulterior motive, right? She's working for Jim Cunningham at this point, mentally at least, not for money, but she's a devout follower. And she brings up in front of the whole faculty, in front of all the parents, she's like, well, in English class, they're reading this story called The Destructors, which now we're learning, has a whole section about how they destroy this old man's house and includes partly breaking a water main to destroy the house. And she's obviously advocating for like religious beliefs. She's like, no, we need to get these books out of the school. This is pornography. Meanwhile, while the PTA conference is going on, Donnie's at home, fucking pops his pills yet again and starts talking to Frank. Frank's like, do you believe in time travel? Starts getting all spooky wooky, like reminding him how many days left he has. And his little sister comes in and goes like, you good, bro? And he's like, oh, my bad.
Who are you talking to?
The next day, Kitty has this whole thing yet again. She's preaching these fucking videos. Donnie goes up in front of everyone and is like, this is bullshit. Like the thing she's teaching, because then she teaches about fear and love and how they're opposites and we need to go through all these things. And he's like, not everything is this black and white, lady. Like, what are you doing? Tells her to shove the card up her butt and he gets suspended. Next time he's allowed in school, he finally comes in after a few days and immediately he goes and talks to his science teacher and he goes, hey, like what's going on with this time travel shit? You know what I'm saying? The teacher's like, you know what? You might be interested. This book was actually written by a former teacher years ago and it's all about time travel. And so he gives it to her and on the front, we can see as the viewer, it's Roberta Sparrow is the author. Then at therapy, Donnie's talking to his therapist and is like, Frank's talking to me about time travel. Roberta Sparrow wrote this thing about time travel. When we got stopped by Roberta and I tried to help her to her mailbox, which she did earlier, she whispered something in my ear and we didn't know what it was, but she said, every living creature on Earth dies alone, that's a heavy thing to fucking say to somebody. But then we're back at home. Donnie and his family are all hanging out. His dad has some friends over, so the two wives are talking in the other room. The other wife brings up Jim Cunningham like he's some really cool guy, so obviously he's having a lot of influence in the town now. While the boys are in the living room watching a game, Donnie starts experiencing some hallucinations where he starts seeing orbs of like globs come out of their body and kind of track where they're going to go in the future. So he's kind of seeing the future and he sees one coming out of his own body. So he's like, all right, let me follow. He gets upstairs and what does he find? He finds a gun. It leads him to a gun in his dad's closet, which he's like, okay, I'm gonna take that. After a couple of days, we see the parents going to the therapist because they are really worried about their son and they're asking like, oh, like what's the progress? Can we get like a little update? The therapist says, have you heard about his friend Frank? And they're like, no. Well, Frank is what I believe to be a daylight hallucination, which is common in paranoid schizophrenics. All right, so now Jim Cunningham is at their school doing a fucking thing for the school, which is crazy. I don't know why they're bringing like religious figures into a school for a rally or whatever. But what's weird, this is off, the plot. It's just, he has like a question segment and first one that comes up, Ashley Tisdale. You're like, what the fuck? Next one that comes up, Jerry Trainer. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Is this Disney Channel 2009? But anyway, next one that comes up is Donnie Darko. And he goes, you know what? What your answers for these people are basically bullshit. You don't know anything any better than anybody else. We all don't know anything about the afterlife. So why are you trying to preach that you know anything? Then he calls him the fucking Antichrist, and the school has to step in, and yet again, Donnie gets in trouble. After school, Donnie and his girlfriend are like talking, and he admits to her, he's like, yeah, this time travel shit, I don't know what the fuck's going on. He shows her the book, and she's like, what? And they go, okay, well, let's go talk to her. So they go to her door. She's not home. They're looking for her. Finally, they're walking back out. He goes to check the mailboxes. He just kind of gets like a feeling that he should go there. And the woman's up above, like watching down. He gets like a little subconscious thing from Frank that goes, mail her a letter.
Send her a letter.
All right, so after a few days pass, next thing we know, Donnie's walking down the street, and he finds who but Jim Cunningham's wallet outside. He goes, oh, interesting. And he finds out that obviously that's where Jim Cunningham lives. And he even gets Frank in the back of his head saying, now you know. So now Donnie and his girlfriend go on a date to the movies, right? They show up, they walk in there. They're the only two people in the theater to see Evil Dead. Immediately, she falls asleep, right? Frank shows up. He looks back at Frank. They kind of have this weird conversation where Frank's like, you ever seen a wormhole before, bitch? Let me pop one up right there. And then he's basically like, you know what you got to do, bitch. Let's go. And meanwhile, we're also seeing that same night where they're going to see a movie. There's a talent show going on at the school, and Jim Cunningham's actually hosting it, which, again, this is like the weirdest thing ever. Why is there a religious person at school hosting an event? So while Donnie's little sister's dance group at the talent show, Sparkle Motion, is going on, Donnie's in Jim Cunningham's house with fucking gasoline, just fucking throwing it everywhere and lighting it on fire. Donnie gets back to the theater. This is kind of insane, but Donnie goes and does all of that, comes back to the theater and sits down with his girlfriend just as the movie's ending, and she wakes up. So he kind of has an alibi, you know, he was there with her the whole time. The next day, Donnie and his sister are watching the news, and guess who? Jim Cunningham's house burnt down, and what did they find? A fucking CP dungeon down in his basement. Then they show a scene where Kitty is fucking like in the office talking, and somebody shows her a newspaper that says local author's CP ring exposed, Jim Cunningham charged. Sparkle Motion, Donnie's little sister's dance group, got a special invitation from somewhere in Los Angeles to go do a dance routine. Kitty was supposed to take them because her daughter's part of the group as well, but Kitty ends up having to ask Donnie's mom to take them because she personally takes on the responsibility to lead the Jim Cunningham effort to, you know, change the ruling on him. And Donnie's mom, you know, reluctantly is like, all right, fine, I'll do it. You know, nobody else can do it, I'll do it. Then I think what happens is the most heartwarming scene in the movie for me, you know, brings slight tears to the eyes. Donnie's mom is in his room and is looking at his calendar, and he drew a picture of Frank on it. And she's like, oh man, like my son's going through it. She's really feeling for him. He walks in, looks at her, and she's like, hey. They sit down on his bed. She goes, hey, so I got to leave for this thing. I'm going to be gone. While you're gone, your sister will be in charge because I guess the dad's being like a business trip as well. While your older sister's in charge, if you ever need anything, make sure to call your therapist. But if you ever need anything, she's like, you can still call me. It's okay. And this is the sad part is when he goes, how does it feel to have a wacko for a son? Because obviously you can tell the whole movie, you can tell he's very contemplative about how he is. He's like, I don't know if this is even right how I am, you know? And she just says with almost tears in her eyes, she goes, it's wonderful. And it's like the sweetest thing ever. Oh, and I love it.
It feels wonderful.
Now we see Donnie yet again at his therapist's office, and he basically admits to her through hypnosis that everything that he's done, how he's destroyed the school, how he burned down the guy's house. And then later we see him go home. He talks to his sister. His sister gets accepted to Harvard. They have a nice moment together, and he's like, we should throw a party. And Halloween's coming up, so they're like, oh, perfect. We'll time it together. The parents are gone. Boom, boom, bam. Now shit's starting to go down because the party starts. As the party's going on, we see the answering machine. The therapist calls and says, hey, like, I got to talk to you stat, because your son told me some things. And so we can realize now the movie's coming to a crescendo because if he starts getting caught for things, something bad's going to happen. Not only that, but the days are being counted down. So like we know things are coming to a close. His girlfriend shows up to the party and she's all fucking flustered. And he's like, what happened? And they go to a private room and she goes, my mom was gone. All my stuff was scattered everywhere. I believe it was my stepdad. I don't know what happened, but I'm super scared. Like I didn't know where to go. So I just came to you. And he's like, it's fine. It's cool. Now the messaging machine goes off again. And it's his mother who's saying, hey, we did the whole thing. We're going to take a red eye tonight. We're going to get home as soon as we can. And the party's going on still, you know, blah, blah, blah. Donnie walks in to the kitchen and sees a sign on the fridge that says, Frank was here, went to get beer. And he's like, the fuck? So he takes it as a sign. He goes, we got to get fucking going. Come on, boys. He takes his two friends and his girlfriend, and they all get on their bikes and they ride all the way over to Grandma Death's house. They show up to her house. They go into like the outside room and they're trying to find her because they're like, oh, something must have happened. Inside, the two bullies are there for some reason. They both are like trying to rob the place because apparently she has nice stuff. She has a lot of money. They grab them, the girlfriend and Donnie, because they're the two that are in there, bring them outside. One of them has a knife to Donnie's neck and is putting him on the ground, like fighting him. And the other one, fucking Seth Rogen, has the girl down on the ground and they're like, wrestling too. Next thing we know, there's a car coming down the road, like from a distance. And so Seth Rogen's like, dude, we got to get out of here. What the fuck? Like throws the girl down again. And then the other guy goes, fuck it, I got to go. Leaves too. Everybody's out of the street. But then all of a sudden the car's driving down. It's a dark road. All of a sudden, Grandma Death's in the middle of the road like she always is. And is like, oh, the car swerves off the road and just runs over Donnie's girlfriend. Gretchen is flattened. When Grandma Death was in the scene for a moment, we saw her. She actually had a letter in her hand, so she actually got something in the mail. Now we look, and Donnie's trying to help his girlfriend, but she's dead. And he looks up, and who else do we see driving the car but Frank in his costume with the hood taken off, and you could see his face, and it's just a guy. You know what I mean? It's not Frank from The Delusions. It's Frank in real life. Real Frank goes, hey, what were you guys even doing in the road? Like trying to blame them. Like, what the fuck, man? And Donnie just pulls up the gun that he found from his dad and goes, gah.
What were you guys doing in the middle of the road, huh? What are you thinking?
Frank's dead. The other guy in the car is like, what the fuck? Donnie goes, go home and tell your parents that everything's going to be okay. And then the guy's like, all right, and runs home. Grandma Death then walks up to him and says, a storm is coming. And we learned that obviously Donnie earlier in the movie sent a letter when he was thinking to, and Grandma Death, it was all lined up perfectly to time with the fact that she was going to be there. They were going to swerve off. He was going to kill this girl. He was going to shoot Frank. It's all connected. It's all coming together. Now, Donnie comes home. It's the early morning. He comes in. He kisses his sister goodbye. There's a storm brewing in the sky. Donnie goes outside, gets in the family car, which he's not allowed to drive yet, and leaves with, then you see his girlfriend's dead body in the passenger seat. Just as he's leaving, by the way, the cops are pulling in, trying to catch him for pretty much everything that he's done. I'm sure his therapist told on him, or maybe they found the dead body. We see the storm is brewing. Donnie's just up on the cliff where he's been sleeping when he dodged the turbine. He's up there with the car. He's looking out at the storm. It's up in the sky. And Donnie just kind of has a little laugh about it. He's like, wow. And as we see it, it zooms in. We see an airplane flying into the fucking, what looks like a tornado. Now it cuts to his mom and his little sister on this airplane, and suddenly fucking everything goes crazy. Alarms are going off. Suddenly, we get some sort of weird wormhole flashback sequence where Donnie's letter that he sent to Roberta Sparrow is revealed, and he's reading it out loud. He basically says, I'm writing you to figure out what this is all about, what this time travel is all about, and I'm afraid of what you're going to tell me. But ultimately, I'm hoping that when this world ends, I'm excited because I feel like there's so much more that the world is going to be able to look forward to. Fade to black, it comes out to Donnie sitting in his room. Time has went back yet again to the beginning of the movie. Everything reverses. And he's sitting in his room giggling to himself about how everything has happened, how this parallel universe existed for a short period of time, and now he's back. He knows what's about to come. And he just lays down in his room and goes to bed. And yet again, we get the sequence where his sister's coming in from outside, his dad's in the downstairs living room, his mom's in bed, and the turbine comes through the house. Now we get a slow sequence going over all of our characters while they're sleeping that night, unknowing that the world has gone back in time, but some of them can still sort of feel it, right? So Jim Cunningham wakes up in his bed and is crying because, obviously he's a fucked up guy and he can feel that something has occurred. It comes back to Donnie's neighborhood and his house where his family is grieving out front. We see Gretchen, in this universe, not yet having met him, pulling up on her bike rather than him pulling up in his bike in the original version. And Gretchen asks another boy that's sitting right there, and she goes, what happened? And he goes, oh, this guy Donnie that lived in our neighborhood just got squashed by a fucking airplane turbine. And Gretchen locks eye contact with Donnie's mom, who's just sitting outside smoking a cigarette. And Gretchen, for some reason, feels a need to wave hi. And Donnie's mom waves hi back. And that's the conclusion to our story. Now, this movie is good. I was watching the director's cut, which I had never seen before previously, even though I hadn't watched the movie in a long time. But I was actually glad. I know that it explained a little bit more of everything having to do with the time travel. Some people didn't like that. I liked that. There was a lot of themes in this movie, right? There was recurring aspect of America and the government and Also about a teen coming into themselves through puberty, of course, time travel and death and religion and existence. There was just a lot going on, and I was actually thoroughly surprised with how good this movie was after having not seen it for such a long time. This one's kind of a fucking banger, better than I ever thought. I would give this like a 8 out of 10. Like that was smoochy madooch. Jake Gyllenhaal got a lot of praise because at the time this was one of his more breakthrough performances in his career. I thought it was really good that they used Maggie Gyllenhaal as his sister because you could feel like a real sort of sibling rivalry going on within that. And to me, my favorite theme or part of this movie was really like the familial aspect, how realistic it was portrayed, but in a really meaningful way, how they handled his mental health, how the parents were sort of passive parents. They kind of let their kids grow as they would, but really cared for them and showed a really soft spot. Even the dad and the mom have moments with him where they're like, hey buddy, like we love you. Like, I hope everything's going to be okay. And you know what? You're not crazy. You're a great guy. We love you. I remember being a teen, feeling like I knew everything about everything, right? Kind of like Donnie when he's speaking out about religion, speaking out about books, speaking out about how everyone's acting. He's sort of retaliating against that in his own parallel universe. And then in the end, it comes around where, there's a lot of ways to read into this movie, but he's a troubled child. And ultimately he finds a safe way where he can feel like he's giving his life, which, some could view as Sui, but that Sui gives the rest of the world the ability to grow in a natural way that otherwise was interfered with in his parallel universe. That's just one way to view this. All right, I know this is controversial. Some people are really into Donnie Darko and love going on about fucking all the shit and how it all has to connect and all the time travel and everything. There's even a website, I believe, that like explains everything for you if you're interested in that. But I'm gonna say this movie is fucking awesome. If you guys want to watch me talk about any other videos, please leave a comment below and tell me which one it is. Donnie Darko was amazing. If there's anything else out there like that would kind of test your mind and make you feel good and bad and whoa, time travel, then please let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Subscribe so we could see more. I love you. Bye.